Hello everyone. So I am senior software engineer in Automotive, engaged in workgroup cloud activities as concept owner of the Automotive API. This concept will be a topic of this presentation. So I understand this event as an occasion to celebrate the incorporation of the new elements to the standard and enhancement of the existing one. I would like to use this presentation to briefly tell you about this concept, present its history, evolution, and challenges. Finally, I will provide you an information about new deliverables and next steps, as we as concept group definitely see some places which needs to be improved in next releases. So let's start. If you didn't hear about this concept, on this slide you will find exactly the same definition, which is already available in AutoSAR Glossary. The Automotive API is a common way how to interact with the vehicle using data-centric approach with open source vehicle data representation to provide to address data and provide get, set, subscribe capabilities. The concept introduces for it new functional cluster, Automotive API Gateway. So, what are the benefits for the adaptive platform due to this concept? So, generally, it shall extend the adaptive platform ecosystem by simplifying communication with a vehicle using open standards and protocols, with limited cost of the Automotive API Gateway backbone to other AP implementation, as it doesn't change anything in existing functional clusters, gives integrators freedom to choose the deployment of the VISS server. VISS is a protocol which we choose to interact with the vehicle, and it can be deployed locally or in a cloud. And finally, we as concept group strongly believe that all of the data which we would like to make available are already present in the vehicle. So Automotive API shall consume them with limited by design changes on the OEM side. What is really important, the application which uses Automotive API shall be reusable across the different OEMs and vehicles by clients which are completely vehicle-specific architecture agnostic. As you can see, even looking on benefits, it is visible that there is a broad range of topics to address. How to address data, which protocols shall be used, how to provide already available data on this common representation. And actually, it took some time to even clarify scope of the concept. On the next couple slides, I will tell you about concept history. So, this timeline is a little bit approximated. It was based on emails, Jira tickets, minutes from workgroup meeting, and some public news. But the first date is something precise. The first commit was in June 2021, where we started to discuss the first version of the concept. The first version of the vehicle API, it was the first name of the concept, turned out to be rather idea that we would like to achieve. Even if we know how to do it, we still struggled with answers for some technical questions. We started to work on a proof of concept and parallelly EXP document to have common ground and common understanding with other workgroups. We discovered that some of our initial assumptions were wrong, and we shaped it to the version 2 of the concept. Approaching MS2 concept phase, we still struggled with declaring precise scope of the concept, and we actually failed in it. But in but deliverables, EXP and POC was later useful for us as it moved forward discussions with other work groups like architecture, MT and IPC. So, at the end of 2022, there was a very important point that the appeared thread abandoned actually in version 2, how to represent VSS in RXML format. I will continue this topic a little bit later, but it is important as it is finally part of the concept deliverables. In January, some parts of the proof of concept was presented on Covisa RCS reception meeting demo, and there was a first attempt to open project vehicle API technical and legal. Later, in May 2023, together with PL team, we agreed on final scope of the concept, and later in July 2023, we proposed modeling, and in November 2023, new architecture. After that, we start to collect documentation, requirements, software specification, and write EXP document as the concept changed a lot. And it finally drives us to 2024, where in March we successfully relaunched concept process. So we are here on release event 24-11. Okay, so as you can see here, the way for introducing concept took a lot of time and effort, but the goal of presenting this timeline was to show that there was no revolution, it was evolution. Some ideas were decided to be lost, others came back in changed form. As I said, first version was the idea of protocol agnostic gateway interacting with adaptive applications using ARACOM. We assume that both applications share service interface definitions, which are derived from the VSS. But what basically is VSS? VSS is a public open source vehicle signal specification proposed by Covisa, which is used by VSS, our protocol. It is maintained at this moment by Covisa 2, and it is based on HTTP, WebSocket, and MQTT, designed to interact with a vehicle. VSS can be used to define catalogs of vehicle signals, and if only vehicle uses the same or the compatible catalogs, they can be interacted on the same way. VSS, on the other hand, give us possibility to use these addresses from the VSS to get, set, and subscribe data. So later, I mentioned that we proposed second version. It is still protocol agnostic, where the data model could be abstracted. The main problem of this version was to lose connection between parts, potentially performance issue, and limit the use of the AutoSAR modeling capabilities. What is more, in this approach, we didn't generate RXML from the VSS. And in the third and final solution, we provide Automotive API Gateway, which provides VSS communications and performs internal mapping between VSS derived service interface, similar like in the version 1, and finally existing services. It is much more monolithic approach, but as we will see in a moment, compliant with AutoSAR modeling. By the way, I believe that the evolution of the concept shows also growth of the workgroup cloud in AutoSAR consortium. Automotive API was basically a first concept under the workgroup cloud umbrella. So at the beginning, we had some ideas, what we would like to do, how to do it. Later, we found more precise solutions, how to achieve it, but still, we weren't talk using, let's say, AutoSAR language, but we tried to convince consortium that our way is good and we have justification to do it on our own way. And finally, in the third stage, we were starting to talk using AutoSAR way of expression. So in the next slide, I will show you and tell you a little bit about this modeling, this mapping. So basically, on the left, we use gateway software component, which is some kind of composite. On the left side, we have peoples of VSS derived service interfaces skeletons, which are generated using existing tooling. On the right side, we have required port of the onboard proxies. And they can be mapped on two ways. The first one is manual programmed mapping. The second one is generated mapping application like XML model. We expect that it can be used, it can be done with pass-through software connectors. So, to be honest, it was quite challenging how to introduce this mapping. But in this concept, we have some other challenges too. So generally, we can group them in three main categories. The first one is engineering, how to introduce Automotive API to AutoSAR standard, how to manage complexity and timeline, because we had limited time and still a lot of work to do. At this moment, we prepared some kind of placeholders, which will be later in next releases improved or filled with more precise content. And mentioned earlier how to achieve mapping between PSS derived service interfaces and existing services. The second group of problems was organizational, like workflows for the working group and types of document. Sometimes we weren't fully sure which type of documents we need to do. Finding common understanding and language with other work groups, and synchronization across organizational layers. The last one, it was mainly for PLs and legal team, but even as an engineers, we need to have in mind boundaries of the intellectual property and how to cooperate on the technical level and legal level with open source organization. And it was mainly done by PLs and legal team. So even with these challenges, we managed to introduce as a draft because it still needs verification. External document. I really encourage you to look on this document because it provides you more information about the concept. I mentioned earlier technical report about VSS representation, which provides you some kind of guidelines how to generate or create other XMLs from VSS, and software specification of the Automotive API gateway and requirements. So, as I said earlier, concept still will be validated, and we see some place which definitely needs to be improved. So in the next releases, we would like to enhance modeling aspect of the mapping, integrate Automotive API gateway with existing security solution in AutoSAR platform like security events, define configuration, and continue co-visa collaboration on VISS protocol. So as it is end of this presentation, I would like to give special thanks to my colleagues from concept group, to Sami Keki from Huawei, who is a speaker of Workgroup Cloud, Kai Teichmann from Develop Group, Jens Kribler from Vector, Paweł Garczarczyk from Stellantis, and my colleague from Tieto Evry, Piotr Krawczyk, and all of the AutoSAR and co-visa colleagues engaged in reviews and consultations. So, thank you very much for your attentions. If you have any question, please stay with us because we will have a QA session.